Cosmological arguments. What are cosmological arguments? Cosmological arguments are an attempt to argue from the cosmos, or the universe, to God. And there's different forms of the argument. There's the Thomistic, the Leibnizian, and the Kalam cosmological argument, and the Kalam argument is one we're going to look at later. So here's some definition of terms. A necessary being is a being that cannot not be, so it has to exist. It doesn't owe its existence to anything, meaning it wasn't created or caused by anything else. A contingent being is a being that does not have to be. It was made by something else, so that could be humans or animals, bacteria, whatever. A non-being is a state with zero ontological status, so that's basically nothing. And what's the law of causality? It states that every effect must have a cause. And here's a defense of that law. What is an effect? Something that was brought into being or something that was caused. What is a cause? Something that produced an effect. So why is this law true? It's true by definition. It has to be true. Asking why this law is true is like asking why a triangle has three sides. It's just the definition of the law. What is an enumerated infinity? Well, can you count to the end of infinity? No, because infinity has no end. Can you count to zero back from negative infinity? No, because that's basically the same thing. An infinite series has no end. So if we're going to use this argument to say that the universe always existed and that the universe is an infinite series, now would be the last event in all moments prior to now. If the sequence of events prior to now was infinite, we would never get to now. Since we're here now, therefore there was not an infinite sequence of events prior to now. And let's look closer at the Kalam cosmological argument. Premise 1 is that whatever begins to exist must have a cause. Premise 2 is that the universe began to exist. And the conclusion, therefore the universe must have a cause. So let's defend the first premise, which is that whatever begins to exist must have a cause. The effect of something coming into being has a cause, and self-causing is logically contradictory, because to cause something you have to exist, but to cause yourself, it just doesn't make sense, because you'd have to exist before you existed to cause yourself. Does quantum physics refute the law of causality? Here's the claim that some people make. At a subatomic level, subatomic particles come into and out of being, defying logic. At a subatomic level, a quantum fluctuation occurred, bringing all matter and energy into the universe, into existence. And the response to that is that an example of something coming into being from empty space is not an example of something coming into being from nothing, because empty space is not nothing. And where did time and space come from, if that's what happened? The law of causality cannot be refuted with empirical evidence because it's analytically true. And here's the second premise, which is that the universe had a cause. And there's the philosophical evidence is that an enumerated infinity has no end. Right now is the last event of all prior events. If the sequence of prior events was infinite, we would have never gotten to now. Therefore, there was not an infinite sequence of events. And there's scientific evidence also, mainly the second law of thermodynamics, because the amount of usable energy in the universe is running down. If the universe was infinite, then we wouldn't have any energy. The universe would be dead now. So, and also the universe is expanding, which implies a beginning. And here's the conclusion, which is, therefore the universe must have a cause. What could cause a universe? It has to be ontologically prior to space, time, matter, and energy. It has to transcend those things. In order to create those things, it has to transcend those things. Something that created matter Time and matter must be beyond, means that the cause must be immaterial and transcend the universe and time. The cause must be timeless, and in order to be timeless, it has to be changeless because change requires time. You can't measure change without a factor of time. And it has to be beginningless because beginning to exist would be a change, and to change requires time. And it also requires a lot of energy because the cause for all the energy in the universe had to have more energy than that was given to the universe. The cause of the universe is personal. Only two things could exist beyond space and time, which are abstract objects and a mind. Abstract objects have no causal power. They can't do anything. Therefore, the cause was a mind. The universe wasn't caused by an event causation because there are no events prior to time, which is prior to the universe. It wasn't a state-to-state causation because an eternal state can only produce an eternal effect. It was an agent causation, the only option that could produce a temporal effect from a timeless state. So the universe was caused by a being that chose to make a change, chose to make the universe. Does God require a cause? God is not an effect and does not require a cause. You don't have to explain the explanation to something. God is an eternal, necessary being and does not require a cause.